A Pirate's Tale of Love. Arthur grew up in the small fishing village, dreaming of the day he could sail with his father and brothers. While the other children played, Arthur spent his days watching the boats in the harbor. By the age of 10, his father started teaching him basic sailing skills. As a young boy, Arthur proved to be a natural sailor. He learned quickly and worked hard to help maintain the fishing boats. While still too young for long trips, Arthur enjoyed any time he got to be out on the water. By 14, he was a full crew member on his father's boat. Though Arthur loved the sea, fishing was a difficult way to make a living. Many years the catch was small and the family struggled. Arthur wanted to find an easier path. When he turned 16, the Royal Navy began recruiting. Arthur saw it as a chance for adventure and steady pay, so he enlisted. Over the next few years, Arthur learned advanced sailing and navigation skills while fighting for England in the war. He proved himself a skilled sailor and rose through the ranks. But Arthur grew tired of taking orders and battling endlessly. When his ship docked in the Caribbean, he saw his chance to leave that life behind. One night, Arthur stole a small boat and supplies before slipping away unnoticed. Alone at sea for the first time, he was nervous but thrilled for the freedom. Arthur sailed toward the islands, hoping to find work and start over. But the Caribbean was a dangerous place in those times. Soon Arthur encountered a group of pirates celebrating a raid. Impressed by his skills, they invited him to join. After seeing the riches they possessed, Arthur decided piracy might be an easier path than hard work. He helped the crew capture merchant vessels, learning navigation, combat, and negotiation. Life as a pirate was profitable but unpredictable. Rival gangs fought over territory while naval ships hunted them. After a few close calls, Arthur began dreaming of retiring wealthy, but that was still many adventures away. Having risen through the ranks, Arthur was now poised to make his mark on the pirate world. After joining the pirate crew, Arthur proved himself a valuable asset. He was a skilled sailor and learned quickly. Within a year, he had risen to second mate under the captain. Arthur helped navigate the waters of the Caribbean and plan raids. One night, they spotted a large Spanish merchant vessel loaded with goods from the Americas. The pirates stealthily approached under cover of darkness. At dawn, they swarmed the merchant ship, taking the crew by surprise. Arthur led the boarding party and was one of the first aboard. A fierce battle broke out on the deck as the merchants fought back. Arthur dueled several men, displaying his talent with cutlass and pistol. By the end, the pirates had captured the vessel. They celebrated with the spoils of sugar, gold, and rum. Arthur had earned the respect of the captain for his bravery. Over the next few years, Arthur took part in many successful raids against Spanish and English ships. He continued rising through the ranks, becoming first mate. The crew came to rely on his navigation and combat skills. Arthur even saved the captain's life during an ambush by a rival pirate gang. One night at their hidden port, the crew was celebrating after a huge haul from raiding a fleet of merchantmen. But the party was interrupted when lookouts spotted naval warships approaching. It was a squadron sent to wipe out the pirate threat. The pirates scrambled to prepare their ships for battle, but in the chaos of drinking and revelry, orders were unclear. The captain froze, unsure of the plan. Arthur took charge, barking commands to ready cannons and make sail. He led the pirates in evading the naval ships under cover of night. The next day, the crew gathered on the beach, exhausted but alive. They looked to Arthur, who had saved them through his quick thinking. That's when the captain approached, clapping Arthur on the back.
"You've proven yourself the best man for the job,"
he said, offering him the position of captain. As the new captain, Arthur established himself as a skilled and fearless leader. He planned daring raids that brought great plunder, outmaneuvering naval ships and rivals. Arthur established new ports and trade routes, growing the pirate network. Merchants learned to fear the Jolly Roger flying from his masts. One night at port, Arthur spotted a beautiful woman in the tavern, the daughter of a wealthy plantation owner. Her name was Maria, and she was as spirited as she was lovely. Arthur was charmed, and soon they fell in love, keeping their romance a secret from her father. But one night, Maria's father learned of their affair and came to confront Arthur. A fight broke out between the two men. With pistols drawn, Maria screamed for them to stop, but it was too late. Her father lay dead on the floor of the tavern from Arthur's shot. Arthur fled into the night with Maria, escaping in their ship as word spread of the killing. They sailed away into the darkness, pursued by rumors of a bounty on Arthur's head and a naval squadron hunting his vessel. Their love had cost them both dearly. Over the next few months, Arthur led his crew on daring raids while evading capture, but the stress was taking its toll. He and Maria argued more, as she regretted leaving her old life. During a battle with a man-of-war, Arthur was wounded but refused to surrender. Exhausted and outnumbered, the pirates were finally overpowered. Arthur and his men were taken prisoner, destined to hang for their crimes. But as they were shackled in the brig, Maria approached the commander. In tears, she offered herself in exchange for Arthur's life, pleading for mercy on her lover. The commander, moved by her beauty and devotion, agreed. Arthur was released while Maria remained behind as the officer's wife, lost to him forever. With a heavy heart, Arthur returned to piracy, more determined than ever to amass enough riches to forget his pain. After being released from prison, Arthur returned heavy-hearted to his pirate crew. Though free, he felt empty without Maria by his side. He threw himself into raids to forget his pain, leading increasingly daring attacks, but nothing could fill the void in his heart. Months passed as Arthur focused on amassing plunder, yet in quiet moments, his thoughts turned to Maria. He hoped she found happiness with her new husband, but missed her dearly. Arthur's crew noticed his declining mood but knew better than to pry. They had never seen their captain so distraught. One night after a successful raid, the pirates stopped to resupply in a remote Caribbean port. As Arthur wandered alone, he passed by a tavern and froze. Through the window, he glimpsed a woman with raven hair that could only be Maria's. His heart soared at the chance to see her again. Arthur slipped inside and spotted Maria serving drinks. Though she looked tired and thin, when their eyes met, hers widened with shock and joy. She hurried over and embraced him, both overcome with emotion. In hushed tones, they caught up on the past year. Maria told of her miserable life as the commander's wife. Constantly watched and lonely, though provided for, she felt more a prisoner than before. Her heart still belonged to Arthur alone. Hearing this, Arthur's desire to reunite grew, but they knew it was impossible as long as her husband lived. Arthur returned to his ship, his mind racing with plans. That night, he gathered his most trusted men and revealed his intention to rescue Maria. It would require infiltrating the naval base, but they had succeeded in harder missions. The crew agreed for their captain's happiness. Weeks of planning followed. Arthur gathered intelligence on the base's routines and weaknesses. When ready, he selected a small group of stealthy pirates to infiltrate under cover of night. After evading patrols, they breached the commander's quarters. A struggle ensued, but Arthur's men emerged victorious. The commander lay dead, allowing Arthur to spirit Maria away in the chaos. They escaped into the jungle, eluding pursuit. At the rendezvous point, Arthur's ship awaited to whisk them away into a new life. Overjoyed to be reunited, Arthur and Maria spent long hours catching up on their voyage. Their love was as strong as ever despite the hardships. Arriving at their pirate port, Arthur introduced Maria to his crew, who welcomed her warmly. At last, Arthur felt complete having the woman he loved at his side once more. From that day on, Maria accompanied Arthur on his raids, proving a talented pirate in her own right. With her fierce spirit, she helped plan daring attacks and motivated the crew. Arthur had never felt happier or more determined to build a future with the only one he cared for. Word of the commander's death soon reached the ears of the English Navy. They were outraged that one of their own had been slain by pirates. A massive manhunt was launched to bring Arthur and his crew to justice. Squadrons of warships swept the Caribbean, searching every port and cove. Arthur knew they would be coming. He led preemptive raids to gather supplies before going into hiding. It wasn't long before a British frigate spotted their ship and gave chase. A running battle ensued through the islands as Arthur's men fought to lose their pursuers. They suffered damage but escaped into a hidden lagoon. More skirmishes followed as the Navy blocked their usual ports. Arthur was forced further afield to remote shores, raiding where he could, but their supplies dwindled under the constant pressure. One night, an unlucky storm scattered the fleet. Arthur's ship washed ashore a small, uncharted island. He sent scouts to search for resources. They returned with news of fresh water and wild fruit but no sign of the British. Seeing a chance to rest and repair, Arthur established a hidden encampment. Over weeks they regained their strength. One morning a lookout spotted sails. 2 Royal Navy frigates had found their trail. Outnumbered, Arthur gathered what supplies they could carry and fled inland with Maria. The sailors gave chase on foot. What followed was a running battle through the dense jungle. Muskets fired as Arthur fought a fighting retreat. He lost men covering their escape until finally losing their pursuers in the maze of vines. Exhausted, they emerged at a secluded cove where a small boat lay abandoned. They pushed off just as more gunshots rang out from the treeline. Under cover of darkness they rowed to another remote island, hoping the British assumed they perished in the jungle. There, Arthur and Maria decided to disappear forever. They would fake their deaths and start new lives away from piracy's dangers. It was a bittersweet choice, but one that could keep them together. The next morning, Arthur's hat and effects were found drifting at sea, suggesting he met his end. Meanwhile, he and Maria settled in a small fishing village on the new island, posing as a simple couple. Over the years, they started a family, becoming respected elders of the community. Their true history is forever secret. At last, Arthur and Maria lived happily beyond the reach of the Navy, free to grow old together in peace. Their adventures at an end.